Did you know that more than 35% of strokes in people over 65 happen in the bathroom or immediately after using the bathroom? And most of them are completely preventable. If you're over 60 and think your bathroom habits are harmless, this video might save your life. Make sure you listen carefully. I'm sharing the story of William Henderson, a 70-year-old retired postal worker from Tampa, Florida. He had a stroke in his bathroom at 6:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. He was alone. His wife, Carol, had gone to her morning yoga class. William was sitting on the toilet, straining, when suddenly the left side of his body went numb. He couldn't move his left arm. His face drooped. He tried to call for help, but his words came out slurred. He tried to scream, but his voice was floating in the void, but not coming out of his mouth. William managed to reach his phone and dial 911. He used all his strength to do this. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes. They took him to Tampa General Hospital, where doctors confirmed he had a stroke. He was shocked when he heard this. A blood clot had blocked an artery in his brain. If Carol had been home and called 911 immediately, William would have been eligible for clot-busting drugs, but he had been alone for 20 minutes before calling. And by the time he reached the hospital, the window for those drugs had closed. It was now too late for early intervention. William spent 5 days in the hospital. He went through 3 weeks of physical therapy. This process was very challenging for him. His left arm still doesn't work quite right. And when his neurologist sat him down to discuss what caused the stroke, William was shocked. "Mr. Henderson," the doctor said, "your bathroom habits were slowly killing you. 4 things you were doing every single day raised your stroke risk by 300%, and you had no idea." What was said almost caused William to experience a second trauma. This video is about those 4 bathroom habits. Habits so common that almost every senior over 65 does at least one of them. When you listen to what's being told, you will also check which of these you do. Habits that seem completely harmless but are secretly increasing your stroke risk to dangerous levels. You can't believe how these habits can lead to such risks. Stay until the end. Because the 4th habit is what William's doctor said was the biggest risk factor. And it's something 80% of seniors do without thinking. When you hear these, you will check yourself once again. Now, let's begin. First habit, straining on the toilet. William had struggled with constipation for years. He went to the doctor many times to solve this. Like many seniors, his digestive system had slowed down as he aged. He would sit on the toilet every morning and strain. He would force himself. He would hold his breath. After all, he had to do this process. He would bear down with all his strength trying to have a bowel movement. Sometimes he would sit there for 10 or 15 minutes, his face turning red, veins bulging in his neck, pushing as hard as he could. Doing this was straining almost his entire body. From time to time, he also used bowel medications, but the problem couldn't be completely solved. Because due to his age, his body had now become this way. William didn't think anything of this anymore. After all, he had done his best and everyone strains sometimes, right? Wrong. What William didn't know was that every time he strained on the toilet, he was performing something doctors call a Valsalva maneuver. And that maneuver was spiking his blood pressure to dangerous levels. Without realizing it, his entire body was becoming endangered. Here's what happens. When you hold your breath and bear down, you increase pressure in your chest and abdomen. That pressure squeezes the blood vessels. Your heart has to work harder to pump blood. Your blood pressure skyrockets. In William's case, his normal blood pressure was 135/85, already slightly elevated. But when he strained on the toilet, his systolic pressure would jump to over 200. That's stroke territory. For someone his age, these were quite dangerous numbers. When you think about what I'm telling you, how many times do you find yourself straining while relieving yourself in the toilet? Can relieving this need be very challenging for you? From time to time, share this with us. The Valsalva maneuver also does something else dangerous. When you finally release the strain and take a breath, your blood pressure drops suddenly. That rapid change from high to low can dislodge plaque in your arteries. That plaque becomes a clot. That clot travels to your brain, and you have a stroke. All the situations I've listed may seem impossible to you, but this is something that happens over time. The pressure and constipation situation that strains you so much can really lead to vital consequences. William's neurologist told him, "Mr. Henderson, every morning when you strained on that toilet, you were playing Russian roulette with your brain." Studies from the American Heart Association show that straining during bowel movements increases stroke risk by up to 70% in seniors. And if you're already at risk because of high blood pressure, diabetes, or previous cardiovascular issues, that number goes even higher. This situation that seems simple to you can actually lead to completely different problems. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires changing a lifelong habit. William's doctor put him on a high-fiber diet. Metamucil every morning, more water throughout the day, a stool softener if needed, and most importantly, if you sit on the toilet for more than 5 minutes without results, stop, stand up, walk around, try again later. Never strain, never hold your breath, never let your face turn red pushing. Don't force your body too much for this. William also learned about the squatty potty, a small stool you put under your feet while sitting on the toilet. It changes the angle of your colon and makes bowel movements easier without straining. It felt ridiculous at first, but it worked. William's morning bathroom routine went from 15 minutes of straining to 5 minutes of easy, comfortable bowel movements. And his stroke risk from this habit dropped to near zero. Doing this meant completely changing the routine he had been used to for years, but he had done the best he could, and he had succeeded. Second habit, taking extremely hot showers. William loved hot showers. Not warm, hot, scalding. He would turn the water up as high as it would go and stand under it for 20 minutes every morning. Doing this felt like something that relaxed and healed his entire body. The steam would fill the bathroom until he could barely see. His skin would turn bright red. He would get out feeling relaxed and loose. When you hear shortly what this extremely hot water shower causes rather than its benefits, you will also be very surprised. What William didn't realize was that those hot showers were causing something called vasodilation. He would continue his usual routine until he learned this. The heat made his blood vessels expand. That dropped his blood pressure. And when you're 70 years old with already compromised cardiovascular health, a sudden drop in blood pressure is just as dangerous as a sudden spike. When you think about all this, you think about what this 5 to 10-minute relaxation you feel in the shower actually causes in your blood pressure. Is this really an acceptable danger for a few minutes of relaxation? Here's what was happening to William. He would step into a 109-degree Fahrenheit shower. Within minutes, his blood vessels would dilate, trying to cool his body. His blood pressure, normally 135/85, would drop to 100/60 or lower. His brain wasn't getting enough oxygenated blood. He would feel lightheaded, dizzy. His vision would blur slightly. William, however, perceived all of these as relaxation. yet his consciousness was shutting down. William thought these sensations were normal. What hot showers feel like, right? Wrong. Those were warning signs. His brain was being temporarily starved of oxygen, and every time he did this, he was increasing his risk of a stroke. His blood pressure was dropping extremely suddenly, and his body was shutting down his consciousness to protect him. The danger gets worse when you step out of the hot shower. Your body is trying to regulate temperature. Your blood pressure is low. You're standing on a wet, slippery surface. If you lose your balance, if you faint, if you fall and hit your head, the consequences for a 70-year-old can be catastrophic. Just think what could happen in case you hit your head somewhere and bleed due to blood loss, since the blood vessels are dilated from being under hot water. William's cardiologist explained, "Mr. Henderson, those hot showers were stressing your cardiovascular system every single day. Your heart was working overtime, trying to regulate your blood pressure. Your brain was experiencing temporary oxygen deprivation, and you were one slip away from a fall that could have killed you." All of these coming together wasn't even surprising. They were quite likely situations to happen. Until William learned these, he just thought he was taking a simple hot shower. The Mayo Clinic recommends that seniors keep shower water between 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit and 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit warm, not hot. This range provides adequate comfort. They make this information because anything more can be at dangerous levels for the body. Comfortable, not scalding. William bought a shower thermometer from Amazon for $8. He set the water to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. It felt too cool at first, but within a week, he adjusted. And he noticed something interesting. He no longer felt dizzy getting out of the shower. His energy was better throughout the morning. He wasn't putting his cardiovascular system under unnecessary stress. His body was more comfortable because it wasn't straining this much. He was feeling this comfort throughout the week. William also made other changes. He installed grab bars in his shower. He put a non-slip mat on the floor. He kept shower time to under 10 minutes. These simple changes eliminated a major stroke risk factor from his daily routine. These were actually simple but equally important changes. Third habit, standing up too quickly after sitting on the toilet. This was the habit that actually triggered William's stroke. He had been sitting on the toilet for about 10 minutes. Unfortunately, he was straining because he hadn't yet learned the first habit. When he finally finished, he stood up quickly, pulled up his pants, took 2 steps toward the sink. After waiting in that position for this long, doing all these movements very quickly, reflected back to him in ways he couldn't foresee, his body was going to give unwanted responses to these sudden movements. And that's when it happened. The room started spinning. It was as if where he was stopping. His vision went dark around the edges. His left arm went numb. His face drooped. William was experiencing orthostatic hypotension, a sudden drop in blood pressure when moving from sitting to standing. And in his case, that drop was so severe it caused a stroke. This change in blood pressure and blood circulation triggered the beginning of the unwanted event. Here's the medical explanation. When you sit for an extended period, especially straining, blood pools in the lower part of your body. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure adjusts to the sitting position. When you suddenly stand up, gravity pulls blood down toward your legs. Your heart has to immediately pump harder to get blood up to your brain. This is the body's normal way of working. In a healthy young person, this happens automatically. The body compensates in seconds. But in a 70-year-old with slightly high blood pressure, possibly on blood pressure medication, with cardiovascular system already stressed from straining and hot showers, the body can't compensate fast enough. Blood pressure drops. The brain doesn't get enough oxygen. You get dizzy, you lose balance, or, as in William's case, you have a stroke. All of these situations are medically situations that trigger each other. Studies show that orthostatic hypotension affects more than 30% of people over 65, and it increases stroke risk by as much as 54%. If you're on blood pressure medication, that risk goes even higher. William was on lisinopril for his borderline high blood pressure. That medication was doing its job, but it also made his orthostatic hypotension worse. While he should have been more careful because of this side effect, he was continuing as if he was in his old life. William's neurologist gave him a simple rule: never stand up quickly, ever. After using the toilet, sit for 30 seconds. Let your body adjust, then stand up slowly. Pause for another 10 seconds before you start walking. If you feel dizzy, sit back down immediately. Doing this doesn't waste your time or create a negative situation for you. William also learned to recognize the warning signs: lightheadedness, tunnel vision, ringing in the ears, feeling like you might faint. If you experience any of those, you're experiencing orthostatic hypotension. Don't push through it. Don't ignore it. Sit down. Wait. Your brain is telling you it's not getting enough oxygen. Actually, it's warning you at the beginning of everything. Just like all of your body, your vital organs also send you warnings before things happen. William now stands up, so slowly that his wife Carol jokes he's moving in slow motion. But William doesn't care. That slow motion saved his life. He hasn't had a dizzy spell in 6 months, and his stroke risk from this habit is now under control. He's now more conscious, more sensitive in every move because he knows what will happen to him. He thinks living his life a bit in slow motion won't be a problem for him, rather than experiencing a similar situation. Fourth habit: not drinking water before and after the bathroom. This was the habit William's doctor said was the biggest contributor to his stroke. William would wake up every morning, use the bathroom, take his hot shower, get dressed, and eat breakfast. He wouldn't drink a single glass of water until mid-morning, sometimes as late as 10 or 11 a.m. By then, he'd been awake for 4 or 5 hours without hydration. His body had been quite far from the amount of water it should have received for hours. Here's the problem. When you sleep, you don't drink water for 7 or 8 hours. You wake up dehydrated. Your blood is thicker. Your blood pressure is higher. You're at elevated stroke risk before you even get out of bed. Then you use the bathroom, losing more fluid. Then you take a hot shower, sweating out even more fluid. Your blood gets thicker. Your risk gets higher. As you keep doing these and continue not taking water, the risk increases even more within hours or even minutes. William's neurologist showed him blood work taken the morning after his stroke. His hematocrit level, which measures how thick your blood is, was 52%. Normal is 38 to 50%. William's blood was thick as syrup. This was more than enough level to cause a sudden rise in his blood pressure. Then the doctor said to William, "Mr. Henderson, your blood was so thick it was just waiting to clot. All it needed was a trigger, and you gave it 4 triggers every morning with your bathroom habits." In other words, in a sense, you prepared this stroke on a silver platter. The American Heart Association recommends that seniors drink at least 1.9 liters of water per day, spread throughout the day. But the most critical time is first thing in the morning. Before you use the bathroom, drink 237 milliliters of water. After you use the bathroom, another 237 milliliters. Before your shower, 237 milliliters more. All these examples are serious recommendations for you to do if you are able to do them. William thought this sounded excessive. 3 glasses of water before breakfast? But his doctor explained, you're not just hydrating, you're thinning your blood, you're reducing your stroke risk. Those 3 glasses of water in the morning could be the difference between a normal day and a stroke. This actually provides the thinness that your blood needs. William started keeping a glass of water on his nightstand the moment his alarm goes off at 6 a.m. Before he even gets out of bed, he drinks it. Then he uses the bathroom. Then another glass of water. Then his shower, now at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit instead of scalding. Then another glass of water. By the time he sits down for breakfast at 7 a.m., he's consumed 710 milliliters of water, and his blood is properly hydrated. Doing this was a wonderful solution for blood thinness. He doesn't feel like he used to anymore. He doesn't think he's in any danger, even when doing those simple things. He now better understood what wonderful advice his doctor had given him. The difference was immediate. William's morning headaches disappeared. His energy was better. His brain felt clearer. And his blood work 3 months later showed his hematocrit at a healthy 45%. His blood was no longer thick. His stroke risk from dehydration was eliminated. He was now thinking, moving, and living more clearly. Everything had become completely different. Final thoughts. William Henderson is 70 years old. 6 months ago, he had a stroke in his bathroom. He spent 5 days in the hospital and 3 weeks in physical therapy. His left arm still doesn't work quite right. He lives every day knowing he came within minutes of permanent disability or death. Just knowing this changed many things in his life. He's now a completely different person. He knows how valuable his life is, lives accordingly, and pays even more attention to everything he sees as simple. But William is lucky. His stroke was relatively mild. He got to the hospital in time. He had access to excellent medical care. And his doctors identified the 4 bathroom habits that had raised his stroke risk by 300%. Because his situation was good for these, they got clearer information from him and acted accordingly. Straining on the toilet, taking extremely hot showers, standing up too quickly, not drinking water. These habits seem harmless. Millions of seniors do them every day, but each one increases stroke risk. And when you combine all 4, like Bob did, you're creating a perfect storm. You learn that the combination of these really increases stroke risk by an incredible 300%. William changed all 4 habits. High fiber diet and no straining. Showers at 36 degrees, not 43 degrees. Standing up slowly, always. 3 glasses of water every morning. 6 months later, his stroke risk is back to normal for his age. His cardiologist told him, "Mr. Henderson, you've added years to your life by changing these simple habits. If you're over 60 and you recognize yourself in any of these 4 habits, change them today, not tomorrow. Today, talk to your doctor. Get your blood pressure checked. Get blood work done. Make sure your morning bathroom routine isn't slowly increasing your stroke risk. Your bathroom should be a safe place. It shouldn't be a place where you're at elevated risk of stroke." Bob learned that the hard way. You don't have to. Thank you for watching William's story. Leave a comment below, sharing which of these 4 habits you're going to change today. If this video opened your eyes to bathroom risks you didn't know existed, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone over 60 who needs to hear this message. Your future self, stroke-free and healthy, is counting on the decisions you make right now. Make them count.